into that a lot here in just a moment. SWICKtech has been a Fortinet partner for years now. We really truly do believe in their solution, their stack. We have several network engineers on our team that are certified in the FortiStack or the Fortinet equipment. And we really love bringing those to our clients, and we do think that they provide them a great experience. So a little bit of the why behind this today on our end, and the reason, why we think Fortinet and just business grade solutions, networking solutions are important for small businesses, is the security, right? So for small businesses, there's a lot going on today with ransomware attacks and phishing scams and all kinds of stuff out there. And so it's really important that you have a network that is protected and inspecting the traffic and the information that's flowing across it, and just confirming that the appropriate traffic and information is being allowed so you can do business, but also denying that inappropriate traffic. Like I mentioned, it is business class equipment, so this is going to be a big step up from the traditional solution that an ISP provider gives you, right? When you call up the Spectrums or the AT&Ts, Time Warner, et cetera, of the world, and they come out and just install a little modem and router for you to get your internet and wireless up and running. This is a much more robust solution, and it's important that you have something like that for your business. And really, when we're talking about the security and the firewall side of this, that really is the edge of your business's network, right? So that is going to protect your entire location, your entire business, from external attacks and external people getting onto your network. And then the investment, right? So the idea here is that you're investing in this solution, in this equipment up front, to better protect your business and ensure that you have better performance, a better network in general, so that you don't have to deal with those headaches and pains on the back end that I mentioned, like ransomware and other attacks and stuff that could happen if you don't have them. So with that, Joel, I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll let you kind of take over here.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and take over. There we go. So, hi everybody. My name is Joel Boyd, and I am the head of director SMB solutions here at Fortinet. And today I'm just going to talk you through probably what I would consider our most prominent solution set that we've got in the SMB, and it's really around secure office networking. I am going to try my best to do a little better job than Shane about who we are, but no, Shane did a great job. Who is Fortinet? Well, if you haven't heard of us, we are the leading cybersecurity company in the world, but, I always encourage folks, don't take my word for it. We lead the industry in patents with nearly 3 times as many as our nearest competitors, which allows us to build, custom processors and technology that gives us the speed and throughputs that we're so known for, even when security is turned on. One of the things that's also really important in the industry, I know it drives me nuts, is everyone says they're the best, everyone says their security works, but only a handful of us actually get it publicly tested, and our results are out for folks to find. So we have the most third-party validation across our entire security stack. Again, don't take my word for it that our stuff works. Go ahead and do your own research, or take my word for it, which means, we actually do have the most deployed next generation firewall on the market, which allows you to do a lot more things consolidated with one single device. And even though Fortinet is now really big and multinational, one of the things I always like to try and remember and remind folks is we got our start in the SMB. We were always known for our ability to bring really, really comprehensive technology at price points that frankly made sense. That because really was what was in our DNA. So even though we've actually grown very, very large, that same offering, that same ideology, affordable, complete security fabric that's going to allow you to start small, scale as you grow, that is still in our DNA. That is still here. We just probably didn't talk about it as much as we kind of grew into that more known enterprise company, which is why I got hired. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about your business. So, if you're like most of the folks that we talk to, you are all about growth. And technology is what's really behind everything in driving your ability to open those new routes to market, share data faster and easier so that you can provide your customers that better experience and frankly make your employees a lot more productive. Productive. There we go. But the challenge is technology cuts both ways. And one of the things that's great about technology nowadays is it is easier to consume. It has become more affordable. But what you can do and what those applications do, frankly, on their own has insanely expanded. So it's two-sided. It's great for growth. It's not so good for security, because what suddenly happens is if you don't think about the architecture you're implementing kind of at the beginning, as you grow, you're going to find yourself kind of stuck in a corner, and then you're finding yourself kind of working around and creating workarounds, or you're having to rip and replace and start from scratch, and that sucks. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff happening right now in your network. Do you really understand what's happening, where it's happening, how it's happening, who's doing it, with what? And that's what we want to try and avoid. Which leads me to my punchline of, the office network really is your lifeline nowadays. This really is the building blocks of your company. And regardless if you're operating in kind of this remote world or you're an office environment, this is going to be your lifeline. And you've got to find the ability to quickly scale while also understand the insights to how you can improve. Even as we move into this world of a hybrid work environment where, some folks are going to be working from home, some folks are going to be in the office, your ability to understand and control that network health and ensure that security is being deployed and maintained properly is going to make it so you don't get hit with something unexpected. And nobody wants that. There's a lot of, badness. I'm not going to go into it. Everyone knows it. If you don't know it, just do a couple quick searches on Google. The bottom line is you need a smarter approach. And that's, what we like to think that we're bringing to the table here. Something that is intelligent enough to handle the modern environment that you need to operate in, while also fitting into something you can afford and handle with a small team. Shane says, the Fortinet platform is very robust, and it is. It's insanely broad. We were talking about, I think the overall security fabric probably has 40 various security products. In S&B, we don't focus nearly on much, but you always will have that scalability. But what's really important, because you're going to see a lot of vendors out there nowadays saying, oh, we're super simple, there's always a compromise, it seems, whenever you have super simple. Either the functionality is not there, the capabilities that you want aren't there later on. So what I like to say is that we're simplicity without compromise. And what's that mean is, your security has got to be intuitive. It's got to use technology like automation and machine learning to reduce cycles and combat the modern tools that attackers are using to actually target your organizations. And you don't want to have to give away, more advanced security features, because guess what? The attackers are using that same advanced technology that you're doing. It's a constant cat and mouse. And frankly, with what just happened, we are seeing significantly more SMB targeting because it is, low-hanging fruit. And frankly, enterprise companies have invested and implemented much harder defenses. SMBs are just easier. That old adage is still true. But at the same time, you do need to minimize complexity. So, you want to make sure you've got a simplified but still comprehensive consolidated management platform. And I'm going to talk to you about how we deliver that, because nobody's got the time to go from platform to platform or screen to screen, especially as you grow and especially as your systems become more complex. That single centralized management that's available from the cloud so you can access it anytime, anywhere, on any device. That's why it's so important. And then finally, probably the most important, but I always just hate starting with it, is maximum value. Look, we all got budgets. You can LinkedIn stalk me. You can see where I've been. There are some amazing solutions out there on the market, but if you can't afford them, and when there are vendors who you're going to get better performance, more capabilities with, it just makes sense to go with Fortinet. So with that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what we're bringing to the table. So first and foremost, intuitive security, it's a solution that's going to bring you networking and security together with, things like consolidated security services, things like advanced threat protection, intrusion prevention systems that can do deep packet inspection so nothing can hide, web filtering so you're in compliance or you want to make sure people don't go to bad websites. All of this and more can be delivered with one single device, the FortiGate next generation firewall. And we are also the folks who pioneered this concept of why have this networking device in the firewall that's also doing security as well as SD-WAN? Why not just bring these two together? It makes sense that the firewall kind of is that control point. And so we've combined NGFWs and SD-WAN and even our switches, our access points. Traditionally, you would have to go to each one of those devices to configure and create all the policies. Again, with us, we control everything through our firewall, through the FortiGate. So that allows us to bring things like automated security into the picture and protect against new threats in minutes, not hours or days, because things really do move that fast. And we're able to do that, again, because we have such this wonderful integrated truly native platform. We're not mergers and acquisitions. We really do build everything in-house. We have a huge dedication in R&D and engineering, and it's allowing us to just create these automation, incident responses. So if you've got a lean team, it really is set the policies, set the parameters, wipe your hands and, go do your normal job. So with that, when it comes to secure office networking, Fortinet's going to deliver the three key pieces that you need. The firewalls are FortiGate, the switches, the FortiSwitch, and access points is FortiAPs. And it starts with, the famous FortiGate. And like I said, this is the most widely deployed firewall on the market. So absolutely have faith that it works and it's pretty popular. You're going to find people who know it. You heard me talk about that throughput and bandwidth, even with securities turned on, lowest cost per protected megabyte per second. So this is all about how much are you paying to get the throughput that you actually need, and as well as having that integrated secure SD-WAN at no additional cost, by the way. So that firewall has the SD-WAN capabilities already in there. You don't need to buy anything extra. It's already good to go. So whether you're looking at SD-WAN now or in the future, your firewall with FortiGate, you've already got yourself covered. Switches, for us, a lot of times a switch is really just pure scale within your office. So having and making sure that you're getting the bandwidth that you really want. We bring those multiple gigabit ports. We make sure things are stackable so you can get, additional iterations and, again, keep centralized management as well as power over Ethernet so you don't have to run cabling through your office. And finally, our access points. Access points, again, for us, because we control everything at the firewall, it's not that big a deal for us in the APs. We want to make sure it's Wi-Fi 6 ready so we can get the new bandwidth and the new technology as it comes out. We have indoor and outdoor options. And I have heard too many stories about companies using our APs and having to dial back the not the bandwidth, but just the access because it was pushing through so much concrete that they didn't think it was going to. So we're absolutely don't have a problem when it comes to connectivity. All right, so this whole concept of networking and security converge. If you're like a lot of companies back in the day, or even I guess nowadays, a lot of times as your company is growing, you're adding pieces to the puzzle one at a time as the needs arise. And when it comes to security, if you did that, you might be seeing something like you're seeing on the screen right now, where you really do have a mix and match bag of different vendors, different controls, nothing really working together. What if we just bring all that stuff into one device? And that's the concept of this next generation firewall. It gives you the power to do the application security and also understand, who's doing it, a user, with what, on what device, with what application, to give you the visibility of not only what's happening, but the power and control to fix it if you don't like what you're seeing, or if you want to emphasize voice over IP bandwidth or teleconferencing bandwidth for your own personal conference calls, and you don't want Netflix to take up all the bandwidth or YouTube to take up all the bandwidth in your office. You can do that all through the firewall. So you see all this capability, and something we always really tout and make sure folks want to understand is you're going to get a lot of companies out there who will still say, "Oh, we have all this," but this is the power of having a truly native integrated platform. For us, all that security that you see right there, controlled through the firewall. You're not going to a different platform. You're not going to a different product. You're not doing some controls in one system and then deeper controls in another. All of that centralized management through the firewall. But one of the things I do want to mention, because a lot of that stuff, there's no time to kind of go through all the ins and outs. I do want to make time to just talk about intrusion prevention systems. This is probably the most important technology for fighting modern day threats nowadays. And it's because, AV signatures back in the day, it's a one-to-one match. But because things manipulate and change so rapidly nowadays, that basic AV signatures, things that you're going to get in more consumer grade technology, it just doesn't cut it when you get an attacker who's got a business mindset. That business mindset attacker can get through AV signatures super easily. Feel free to go on YouTube. You can see it's really easily. And it's why you need just a lot more capabilities nowadays. So intrusion prevention is super critical, but it does typically take a lot more bandwidth and throughput from your firewall because it's doing deep packet inspection. It's really breaking up the information and understanding what are you trying to hide? Because that's how attackers work nowadays. Well, ours, as I've mentioned, what you're seeing on the screen there are lots of different results from testing. And we did really, really, really well. And that's what we're known for. But even more importantly, what we're known for is that unlike a lot of others in the field, we do not see the same performance hit that others see. And this speaks back to our DNA as an engineering company. We are the only vendor who's creating their own custom processing chips for specific tasks within our box. And it makes it so when it comes to security and deep packet inspection, that processor does that. Management control, different processors do that. Just keeps us up and running a lot faster. So here is the crux of your core network. You've got the FortiGate NGFW, which remember also has SD-WAN, your switches, and your FortiAPs. So for us, what's really unique is traditionally, you may have remembered you saying, is like you would go to your switch, you can configure layer 3 stuff, your routing, your applications, understanding and saying, okay, you can watch YouTube videos, but you can't download, you can't upload, you can't comment. We can give you that level of granularity. And again, all of that is through the firewall. And so your firewall becomes that control point. So you don't have to go to multiple devices. You have one single control point, which is the FortiGate, and you can control your entire network from one single spot. SD-WAN, I've mentioned, is super important. And a lot of companies, this whole concept of NGFW and SD-WAN combined isn't anything new anymore. But what is different is a lot of folks will say, oh, well, we can do failover in case we detect as the traffic itself isn't as good. Lag, jitter, things like that. Things go behind or below certain thresholds, you're going to want to flip over. What a lot of folks can't do, though, is why fail over in the first place? We, month after month are just coming up with so many new capabilities in SD-WAN. And right now we've got self-healing is really what we do. Is if we detect that the packet in translation or in transmission is failing, we've got things like forward error correction. We've got other things for like packet amplification. Bottom line is we're going to make sure the packet itself is stronger, so you don't even have to worry about failing over. So that's why we're a leader in SD-WAN. And again, you don't have to take my word for it, whether or not we're good at what we do. Gartner Magic Quadrant is kind of like the de facto analysis in the market for security and networking. And you can see, we are not only a challenger or a visionary, we are a leader in firewalls, switching, SD-WAN. Not many other people can say that. So we're pretty proud of that. And, when we think about security, it's really this notion of automation. And this is where having the large company that we do does come in handy, because every single one of our devices effectively acts like its own sensor. So every single piece of information that comes across all our customers, all our devices, feeds this machine learning model that's able to quickly identify accurately, that's a bad thing, that's a good thing. That's a bad thing, that's a good thing. And it's not just machines. We have a huge team called FortiGuard Labs of threat researchers, also constantly fine-tuning this machine learning. And it allows us to automatically update all our devices around the world, not in hours and days, but literally in minutes, so that we can find unknown and advanced threats before anybody else can. But this is all well and good, but it really still, you need simplified management. Because there is just so much to do. And, a lot of us don't have these huge enterprise sized teams. We have lean teams, maybe, 2 or 3 people, that's about it, if that. So, for us, first and foremost, it's got to be cloud delivered. To me, this is kind of table stakes, especially right now where a lot of us aren't working, from a formal office. We don't have the ability to play with our technology with on-premise capabilities. We certainly give you that ability to work with it on premise. Don't get me wrong, in case the cloud's not accessible. But for us, making sure that it's cloud delivered, which also gives us the ability, because we've got that strong SD-WAN, giving you the ability to use things like zero-touch provisioning, which means you don't even have to have on-site IT staff for any time you're expanding. Just send a box somewhere, have somebody plug it in. It will dial back to your central management, get all the configurations and policies, good to go. So that's the power of cloud delivered. And, a lot of folks will say that they're single pane of glass. I like to say we've got centralized management, but when it comes to actually managing and controlling the policies that you're working with, whether it's the firewall, the switch, the access points, across your users, devices, applications, I could go on, all of that's just one single screen. Most vendors, is going to be multiple screens. For us, it's one single screen, one single policy, because we've got that architecture that feeds from the firewall into the switch, into the AP. It gives you the ability to have one single policy. So, as I mentioned, got to be cloud delivered. What I haven't mentioned, though, is that FortiGate Cloud is our management console. FortiGate Cloud goes with the FortiGate NGFW, and it doesn't cost anything. There are no additional licenses you have to pay for management. You're literally up and running with the investment of the firewall. So right there, so your FortiGate NGFW gives you SD-WAN, all the security capabilities, integrated management. So you've all got that right there in that firewall by itself. But we all have, dreams of growth, and appropriately, we've got a more robust management and analytics system called Fabric Management Center Cloud, which if and when you get to a point where you want to continue investing in Fortinet, we certainly hope you do, and you've got a lot more stuff and you need to do more customized policies and configurations and push outs, we've got a more robust management platform for you. And then finally, if you want, you can also just go to a lot of our cloud-based applications through something called FortiCloud. Single sign-on. You don't have to worry about remembering multiple passwords for multiple applications and capabilities. You go on there on that platform, and you can quickly access all of your management needs from there as well. So this is kind of a picture, real basically, of just kind of a topology of how FortiGate Cloud and the management works. And like I mentioned, so you're going to get consistent policy controls. You don't have a mix and match of different vendors. It's that same policy, that same native OS, because we're natively built. We're not mergers and acquisitions. And it basically makes it so your switches and your APs are acting like firewalls in the sense that they're also kind of tracking traffic and making sure bad things aren't happening. And all of this is going to be, out of the box with real-time visibility. You can pretty much get anything that you need, and you're good to go. You got your reporting, you got your compliance. It's right there. Again, consistent look and feel. One of the things that's also really important is, it used to be you had to do configuration policies based on port this and IP this. That's not how businesses run. And when people move around and nobody really understands what was put in place before, it's really helpful if you can just do your policies based on users, departments, what applications are they looking at, what devices are they using, and managing your security and your policy controls that way. So we bring that to the table. And log analysis is one reason that we're able to bring such rich visibility and control, is we really do understand and we're tracking everything. And because our firewall has that better technology that's supporting it, we're capable of doing it. A lot of folks without that technology, they have to proxy it, or they have to get another product to do it. We don't have to. It is absolutely one of our differentiators in the market, and it's a key reason we've been so successful over the years. Which brings me to maximum value. All the things I'm talking about are great, but at the end of the day, if you need to fit it in your resources and you don't have it, it doesn't do you a lot of good. So we're known for our best price to performance out there. Multiple different options and models to fit your needs. And, again, you don't have to take my word for it. Take a look what other folks are saying. We're a consistently recognized leader in the space. And all of this just gets it to, it's just a smarter investment. And I feel very confident making that statement. It makes sense. And especially if you're starting small and you're looking to grow, this is a wonderful investment where you're not going to have to rethink, you're not going to have to relearn, you're not going to have to rip and replace. All the capabilities you're going to want to do are going to be there even as you get bigger. So you're not going to have to build workarounds, which adds complexity, customizations, cost. Nobody wants that. So this is, a perfect example of what I'm talking about with price to performance. And what we do here is we basically look at what other vendors have been publishing, and we look at what we bring to the market. And those numbers in red are basically how many times better we are than what we've seen on our competition. So this is a big reason that Fortinet makes so many shortlists. And what powers that, you've heard me preach about this already, is this focus on engineering. 680 patents and counting. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's a huge wall at headquarters with all the patents. It's very impressive. And that's kind of the benefit of an engineering company. And it allows us to stay, ahead of the curve. And, encryption is a big hot button security. 80% of traffic is encrypted nowadays. So if you're not decrypting the traffic and analyzing it, you're letting 80% of stuff get through. It's terrible. So why do people not use encryption? Well, it takes a huge hit oftentimes on somebody's firewall. Thanks to our technology, it does hit us. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but it doesn't hit us nearly as much. So again, right-sized models to fit your needs. Talk to your folks, tell them what your needs are, and we'll find a model for you. And as you think about growth, as much as we would love for you, the only thing you ever buy is Fortinet. That's absolutely what we want. It's not really realistic. And so making sure that we've got really deep integrations is super important. And what's unique about our integrations, because everyone's going to say, oh, I've got API integrations, yay. We really do have a dedicated partner network working on, we've got the API integrations, but we also have things called fabric connectors across hundreds of partners. And it's developed by Fortinet in that partner team. So they really are turnkey, deep integration solutions that oftentimes can be enabled with a single click. It's a huge advantage that we have in terms of extensibility and allowing you to do more with your Fortinet platform. And this is why, again, our security is top notch. Sadly, NSS is no more. There is yet to be a new testing house that's really come up. But still, the old numbers from about a year ago still apply, and you can see where our leadership kind of takes place. So that does it for me. I've just talked to you through kind of our secure office networking solution set, but we also do stuff for endpoint remote user with VPN and endpoint protection, as well as securing cloud applications and email. So, really, we'd love to talk to you deeper about some of the products I just mentioned. We have the FortiGate firewall, which has that secure SD-WAN built in, our 40 switches, our 40 APs, understanding how to do the management with FortiGate Cloud, or on a larger deployment with Fabric Management Center. totally free cybersecurity training for you and your employees. You know, we've got tons of awards, frankly, on our training. We've opened that up. We used to charge for it. Now it's free because we want everyone to have that kind of a knowledge, as well as free cyber threat assessments, which sound like they're a lot to do. And what they are is we basically go in, work with you, and figure out, hey, what might you be missing within your environment? It's totally free. It does not take a lot to do. And in fact, 96% of the CTAPs we do are with our SMB customer base. And 60% of the time, not making these stats up, by the way, proud of them, is we actually find something. So I encourage you to set up a CTAP. Doesn't cost you anything to do. Take a look what's actually going through your network right now. And then finally, you know, we'd love to talk to you about more of our solution sets. And with that, you know, thank you for your time. I hope this has helped. Happy to take questions and hear what more we can do. That's it for me, guys.
Thank you so much, Joel.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. Really appreciate it. Yeah, anyone, if you have questions, feel free to unmute and speak up, or if you're not comfortable doing that, you can throw them in the chat here, and we'll stick around for a few minutes to answer them. I did want to call out, I kind of hinted at it at the beginning there, and Joel mentioned it too, but we are more than happy to get you guys more information on what type of FortiGate and FortiSwitches and FortiAPs you need. We actually have some built out product solutions for that need. So depending upon the size of your company and the needs of your company, it's really easy for us to get you that information quick and simple. So we'll be sharing some of that post webinar. We'll, you know, with some follow-ups, we'll share those with you so you can get a feel for what this type of investment looks like.
It's not as expensive as you think it might be.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Just to also call out that we do have, while we're waiting on any questions here, we do have another webinar coming up in March for Microsoft Teams for the healthcare environment. So we're going to dive into Microsoft Teams and show you guys a little bit more about using it in a healthcare setting and what kind of features Microsoft has been baking in for that purpose. So that's coming up here soon. But again, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, if there's no questions, you know, we covered some of this pretty quickly, so this will be available on demand through our website. So an email will go out tomorrow for everybody if you want to rewatch it or what have you.
Great. Well, I'll stick around in the background here for a few minutes, but thank you so much, Joel, for coming out. Really appreciate your time, and everybody else, thanks for stopping by. And like Eric said, we'll get you the recording and those other details soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Al.
Thanks.